Welcome Motivation Sunday. Welcome Motivation Sunday.
Welcome to another edition to Motivational Sundays with Kevin and Friends. We meet every Sunday at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I am joined today with my co-host today. I have the voice of the show, Miss PJ Scott. I have my ride and dies, all three of them, Anne Marie Maloney, Larnez Kinsey, and Hey Mac, Dr. Ferguson. And coming up the rear, someone to support me, to hold my hand, to prompt me up today is Dr. Breakthrough. This show was originally created
Mm.
for more than 100 motivational quotes that I had created for this show. And believe it or not, it turned into being something much more um, than just a regular show. So we got together and we meet every Sunday at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Each week, someone brings in a quote, and based on our interpretation and perspective, we talk about this quote. So I hope, ladies and gentlemen, you are enjoying this holiday. This is December 2025. And so let's go ahead and get this show started. So, PJ, if you don't mind giving us the quote today.
Don't mind at all. Sunday's quote: "We hold the power to be rich, to be poor, or to be middle class. Our spending habits reflect who we really are." And that's from Grandpa Joe.
All right, that's my grandpa, Joseph Phillips, the late Joseph Phillips. He was the man that taught me how to be a man, and hopefully I'm not going to let him down. Today, I'm going to be holding up the show with all these great queens on here. Dr. Stan, I hope you hold my hand. Maybe break a brick over my head before the show goes on. But this quote, especially during the holidays, um, it has a very powerful meaning. And I'm hoping, based on the interpretations of my co-hosts and perceptions, we lighten up your day. So, if you don't mind, Anne Marie, if you don't mind going first.
Okay.
All right.
Give me that, give me that quote again,
One,
PJ.
one more time.
One
We,
more time.
we hold the power to be rich, to be poor, or to be middle class. Our spending habits reflect who we really are. And that's from Grandpa Joe.
From Grandpa Joe. There is wisdom with our elders, is there not? They
True that.
teach us and they show us so much. One of the things that one can go to literally is power to be rich, the power to be wealthy in terms of where your money is. We are in the shopping season at this point, and we can spend our money in different places. Oftentimes, we splurge our money, right? And we splurge it on things that we want versus things that we need. There's nothing wrong with that in terms of our choices and our decisions and how we go about spending it. Until we take a deeper look, do we really have the power? Do we really have the power when we have economic forces against us? I mean, there's a reason why we're boycotting Target, is there not? Do we really have the power when we have disparity and redlining and discrimination against us? You have to fight your way through a system to navigate it, to survive, literally. So I'm not sure if I agree with the fact that we have the power in that way because there's so many outside influences. But here's where I agree with Grandpa Joe because he has some wisdom from the spiritual realm. From the spirit, when you think about who are you as a person, when you think about who are we in terms of our poverty of spirit, it's that when you focus on yourself, when you forget others, when you isolate different groups of people, that is poverty of the spirit. You find richness, a man, whole woman can be wealthy. Wealth can be found in the way that we serve others. Wealth can be found in the way that we show up for our neighbor. And showing up doesn't have to be some grand gesture, and it does not even have to be money. Showing up can be the ministry of presence, especially during the holidays when a lot of people are by themselves or experiencing loss and grief. Showing up might mean, okay, you're going to bake that tray of cookies. Come on, bring the cookies on. So, where is your wealth? How are you spending your wealth? What decisions, what choices are you making to help somebody else? How are you connecting to your maker, to someone bigger than yourself, to someone or some being, as in God, as in our spirit? And for me, it's Jesus. But, regardless of your faith, it is how are you showing up in your spiritual growth and development? So I have a question here that I want to leave with our listeners. And I got to look at my notes. What's one thing that you're clutching tightly that might be keeping you spiritually poor? What is something that perhaps you need to let go as you move forward? You need to let it go. You need to let it breathe so that you are no longer spiritually poor. That is how the quote landed on me.
All
Thank you,
right. All right.
Grandpa Joe.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, Anne Marie. Well said. When you talk about money, it's a reflection of a mindset. Uh, Discipline builds wealth. Impulses destroys it. I'm going to do something a little different in this show because a lot of times the first person that gives their interpretation on the quote after listening to everyone else's, I'm going to open up this quote today because it's the holiday and people need layers of conversations to move forward in this holiday. We talked about, Anne Marie mentioned the fact that, in order to have our voices heard, we have to be dramatic in our purpose and stand with our purpose. And that's the reason why it's a call for a boycott on these retailers that basically will take our money but won't invest their money into the people or the community that they're serving or taking the money from. So, in the event that there's a conversation to be had after the interpretation or whatever, let's go ahead and talk about it. Let's make this show fun, pull back the layers and do something a little different. So, with that said, I'm going to ask Dr. K-Mac, Dr. Ferguson, Karina, how does this quote land on you? And this is what she does for a living.
It's interesting because as I was looking at the theme for 2026 for our ministry, it's and I was trying to come up with, the vibe that I was trying to give. I was working like, let's get rich in 2026, or get your finances fixed. It's 2026. Like, we've got to get this thing in order in our own lives. The challenge is that wealth is a decision long before it's a condition, right? We make the decision about how wealthy we will or we won't be. And very often it's simply a stewardship issue, right? In one of my books, I write about the fact that how you handle what you have will determine what you will have access to, right? So if you are faithful in the little, then we expect that you'll be faithful in the much. He'll get it to you if he can get it through you, because we were really created to be distribution centers in the earth realm. We were really put here to distribute to those who don't know him, Jesus, who don't know him. We were put here so that we could have, I'll just tell you the story. When I was building my house, Dr. Stan will remember this season. And I had just started making like ridiculous amounts of money. But I remember looking at the income and saying, okay, God, what do you want me to do with this? Right? Which part is harvest and which part is seed? Like, what am I supposed to spend on me and my family? And what am I supposed to give to others who are in need? And he shared with me this. He said, I need you to get this house. And at the time, this was a house that was like way beyond anything I had ever imagined purchasing, building, living in, or whatever. He said, but it's going to serve as a light, and people will come and hear what you have to say about me because of what they see I've blessed you with, what I've given you. So if you really want to have abundant riches, if you really want to um, enjoy prosperity, because I don't think of riches as just about money, although that's a lot of times what gets people's attention. If you really want to experience that, you've got to take a look at where you are, what you have, examine your mindset, do the work in terms of personal development, so that 'cause what was it that we used to say, Dr. Stan, all the time? You don't get what you want, you get what you are, financially
Right.
and other, right? The money you make is a direct reflection of the thoughts that you're thinking. So we've got to fix our mindsets, because your money is revealing your identity. It's telling everybody who you are, what you have, what you don't have. Um, and understand clearly, especially where we're headed now, it's time to make a change. We have to completely change how we think about money. I have been so resistant to digital banking. I mean, dibbling, dabbling here and there. And we are headed very quickly into a space where everything we think we know about money, riches, wealth, finances is shifting, is changing. And we've had all the clues, and most of us haven't embraced them fully. So we really have to determine. I love what Grandpa Joe says. We do have the power to be rich, right? When Jesus died, he left us with dominion in the earth realm. So we have dominion over everything here, the silver, the gold, the money, the crypto, all of that. But who we really are is absolutely reflected in even what we have access to.
All right, that was well said. Whew. There was smoke coming out of that room over there. Hey, talk about fire. So, let me make sure that, to our listeners, if I can break this down a little bit, I'm not going to say it as eloquent as K-Mac just did, Dr. Ferguson. That's my nickname for her, K-Mac.
Hmm.
We'll talk about that one day. But being
Probably won't.
rich, we won't. Being
Probably
rich,
won't.
being rich or poor often is tied to your habits, not just your income. So that's what I'm taking away from there. So you're talking about your physical wealth, you talk about your mental wealth, your emotional wealth, or your spiritual wealth. If you're not making deposits, you are making withdrawals. And sometimes when you are pulling something out of an empty bank, all you're doing is pulling. So, with that said, Dr. Breakthrough, I'm going to ask PJ, I love it when we have a queen doing the voice for the show.
Come on.
If you give us that quote one more time, Miss PJ.
Oh, certainly. Let me find it here. The tech
Stay
challenge
with the
doing
quote.
okay.
You're gonna be asked a couple times.
Grandpa Joe's quote: "We hold the power to be rich, to be poor, or to be middle class. Our spending habits reflect who we really are."
All right, Dr. Breakthrough.
Your
Wow.
wingman.
Well, happy Sunday, capital S, capital O, capital N day to each and every one of you. This quote's so powerful. A couple things. One, it's alluding to what we have, that is the power of choice. So we get to choose. So, like somebody said, you may have come from a poor family, but don't allow a poor family to come from you. In other words, we can choose. I was 17. I read a book by Abraham Lincoln that said most people are about as happy as they make up their mind to be. I was like, wait a minute, you mean I have a choice? So I can choose to be happy in spite of, so the same thing then what your grandpa Joe was saying, you can decide. I mean, Deuteronomy 8:18, he's giving you the power to get wealth. Why would God give me the power to get something that was bad for me? So I can use that power, or I can be ignorant of that power. But if I have that power and recognize that, I can use it. And so rich, RICH, raking in cash happily. See, rich, residual increase complements happiness. I was already happy, but let money come in, what I call hands-free money, what I call passive, and I love passive, not just passive income. I like passive, perpetual, progressive profits. Come on, somebody. So we have that power. We have the power. And again, it's in our mindset because, again, here's the key. You have the power to be rich, again, or the power to be poor. Poor, passing over opportunities repeatedly. Poor, putting obstacles over riches. The only difference between a poor man and a rich man, a poor woman, a rich woman, one came to an obstacle, said it's too big, it's too high. The other said, you know what? I'm going over it, I'm going under it, I'm going around it, or I'm going to learn from Dr. Breakthrough and break right through it, but I'm not going to stop. So again, we have to understand that we have that power. I often said it takes one person or one decision or one action to change your life forever. You are that person. You must decide and you must take action. When I realize, and when we all realize, we have the power of choice. So let's don't play the blame game or even the victim game of what somebody else has done or trying to hide or keep from us or whatever else. No, no, God's given us that power. And when God gives us that power, nobody can take away. Now, the key and secret, he said, was our spending habits. So here's the key. When your outgo is more than your income, that's your downfall. So I know folks that make $100,000 a year, and yet they have all kind of money because their expenses and so forth, their outgo is only $50,000 to $60,000 a year. But I know folks, multi-millionaires, 4 or 5 million, and yet broke as Job's turkey because they bring in 4 or 5 million, but they're giving out 5 to 6 million every year. So what happens is oftentimes with people, their spending habits, like as Grandpa Joe said, people, their income raises, they start spending, their spending is going without having that discipline and ends up biting them in the behind. So the powerful thing is we have the power of choice, and also we need to be disciplined to understand that. So the power to be rich, the power to be poor, the power to be middle class, we can decide. So I'll close with this, and that is this world is, yes, it's determined to make you and I what I call consumers. I mean, the television, the infomercials, like before the money ever comes in, it's already telling you, okay, I'm going to buy this, I'm going to buy that. But rich people don't do it. Rich people say, okay, how can I put my money to work for me? How can I get my money to have babies? Right? I'm gonna give my money an assignment, as Dr. Katrina, an assignment. By the way, today is my daughter's birthday, Dr. Christina. I can't believe I got a 41-year-old. You talking about rich? I'm a rich man. So, but 2 Corinthians 9:11, I close. It says, and he has enriched us in all things to all bountifulness. So every day of my life, I pray and I say, Lord, thank you that I've been enriched by you. In other words, he puts the riches in. Right? Because the other day, a guy said, hey, 10 things money can't buy. And I'm like, you're right. But you've got to tell him those 10 things being broke can't buy them either. But I've been enriched by God. If I've been enriched by God, therefore I am rich. And I declare that I'm going richer every day, more and in multiple ways. To have all of my grown children fly in for my birthday last week, and it surprised me. I mean, you're talking about riches. Oh, my goodness. So, yes, we have the eternal riches, internal riches, and external riches. God bless you.
And God bless you, and thank you for that share. And Stan, again, you said it best. True wealth starts with awareness, planning, and adjusting your habits, and sometimes placing value over what we think we've been placing value on, that dollar, a little bit of change you have in your hand or whatever. It's like when I look at this and I listen to each and every last one of you give your share on this quote, I think about the wealth that has been poured into me. To say that I have over 300 original motivational quotes, it's a lie. Most of my quotes come from Grandpa Joe in the Bible. I don't think I have an original thought in my head, but because someone poured into me, we all have a Grandpa Joe. My Grandpa Joe left and went home on the 23rd of December. His son, my father, followed him 2 years after on the 24th of December. So every year I go to the bank, the emotional bank, and I always ask, would they be proud of me and what I'm doing? Would they approve of the company that I keep? Would they look at the way that I raise my children? And will they pour more wisdom into me? And every single day they live. And that's the thing when you got to realize, people, is that when you have an Uncle Dwight, Grandpa Joe, a Anthony, a Tony, a Martha, a Grandma Ann, or whatever the case may be, when you adjust your habits, you adjust your wealth, you adjust your mindset. And Dr. Stan, thank you and happy birthday to your baby girl, and thank you for your share. You know, this is going to be hard because right now we got to follow Larnaz Kinsey, my other co-host, and find out how this quote lands on her. But before we go on, I'm going to ask PJ, because our time is coming up, to give our listeners this quote one more time before the end of the show.
Okay. We hold the power to be rich, to be poor, or to be middle class. Our spending habits reflect who we really are. That's from Grandpa Joe.
All right. And I also want to pour back into the bank before I go to Larnez. Last week's quote on Motivational Sunday, I forgot to cite the young author of the quote that we brought in last week is Dr. Katrina. So I'm going to go ahead and give her roses last week for bringing us such a great quote. So I want to put that in record on text that we acknowledge the quote came from an original source. So Larnez, how's this quote land on you?
Well, Radiant Rising. And I love everyone sharing their lens because what Grandpa Joe was telling me is he's not just talking about budgeting, he's talking about alignment. In spiritual economics, money is not just a currency, it's a current. It's it flows where your energy flows. It amplifies what you value. It exposes what you avoid. It mirrors the vibration you live in. Your money is a spiritual diagnostic. It shows whether you're operating from fear, ego, survival, or abundance. Because listen, if you spend from fear, you'll always feel lack. If you spend from ego, you'll never feel safe. If you spend from purpose, you'll feel powerful. In spiritual economics, every purchase is a prayer. Every bill you pay is a belief. Every dollar you invest is an affirmation to your future self. So when Grandpa Joe says we hold the power, he's reminding us that wealth starts in the spirit before it even shows up in the bank. Because the truth is, rich is a mindset before it's a money amount. Middle class if is a comfort zone before it's a tax bracket. Poverty is often inherited. It's an inherited vibration before it's a financial condition. Your spending habits don't just show who you are, they show what you're avoiding, what you're healing from, and what you're building. So I ask you, are you spending to soothe, to show off, to survive, or to step into alignment with the version of you your ancestors prayed for? Because spiritual economics, the universe responds to what you respect. If you respect your money respects you. If you honor your resources expand. If you circulate with intention, the return comes back multiplied. Grandpa Joe was given a whole serum masked in a quote. You are not just managing money. You are managing meaning. You are managing energy. You are managing your identity. You are managing your destiny. And when those habits change, so does your entire financial frequency. And that's how this hit me.
Take the offering. Take the offering.
All right, all right. I can't disagree with that. Woo! You know something? I was not expecting this type of response, but I was expecting this type of response, if that makes sense. Many people work hard, believe it or not, to stay broke because emotional spending or poor planning. The middle class often struggles because they want to mimic the habits of rich without having that foundation. Part of the reason that this quote um, sat on me just a little bit is because I spoke to a banker, and I need our listeners to understand this is coming from a loan officer. And he said this about people of color. He says, when I asked them the value of their house versus the value of their car, he says he makes that decision based on that answer. He said a lot of people will pay their car note before they will pay their mortgage. And he says when people could come and they've got $150,000 car and they're upside down in that loan and then they want to buy a house. He says, I know what's going to happen at the end of the day. They'll let the house go, but they won't let that car go. So it is a mindset based on mental and emotional growth versus financial responsibility or emotional responsibility to not only your future, but the legacy that you commit. So we've gotten to that end of the show, whereas the voice and myself will bring up the rear. Anne Marie, after listening to all these interpretations of this quote, you have anything you want to add to yours?
My goodness, my goodness. So we heard in terms of finances as vibration, and we heard in terms of mindset, spiritual economics. Job's turkey. Dr. Stan, I don't even know if you realize what you said, but I just want to say, everyone right here, right now, we are in alignment with this quote. Thank you.
All right. So the voice of our show, Miss PJ Scott. How give us a quote one more time and give us your interpretation, and then I'll wrap it up.
We hold the power to be rich, to be poor, or to be middle class. Our spending habits reflect who we really are. Grandpa Joe.
How's the quote land on you?
Oh, that's a group that's hard to follow. My little brain's pinging all over the place. The first thing I thought, and this was when Anne Marie was speaking many years ago, when I was thinking, when I was young and dumb, and I'm still dumb, but not young. I have a little wisdom now. I asked myself, what is wealth to me? And I look at these faces up here, and I feel like a little rich girl because of the wealth of knowledge and the power that comes with that. It's not spending power. Well, it is spending power because I'll take what you guys have said with me the rest of the week. So wealth is not just money. And I consider myself a rich person because of all the blessings in my life. It has nothing to do with what's in my bank account. And the next thing I thought of when you were all talking was, at another point in my life, I decided not to compare myself with other Americans. I compare myself with people in the whole world. And I am an extremely wealthy person. I'm a multimillionaire compared to people who don't have food or clean water and can't feed their children and die poor and sick. So we are all wealthy people, even though we struggle sometimes with money. And then I thought about when Larnez was talking, I thought about the laws of abundance. And abundance is the natural state of order in the universe. In God's world, abundance, there's too much of everything. So that's another way to look at wealth is there's plenty of it. And that's where Grandpa Joe comes in. It's up to us. It's our spending power. And then I remembered what I still work with kids in the public schools and teach financial literacy. And I would ask the kids, what are your goals? Why do you want money? Well, at that time it was I want a pair of true religion jeans. These are like $800 jeans, and these kids aren't even making any money yet. So at one point I said to them all, do you want to look like a millionaire? Or do you want to be a millionaire? They woke up and I was able to teach them. I put that concept in their heads. And I told them that if you're not experiencing abundance in every area of your life, you are doing something to block it. And that's when you have to stop and turn it all over to a higher power to teach you. That's where I left them, that they were the ones who were blocking it. And I think Grandpa Joe would agree with me on that point.
Yeah. I think,
Kevin,
right.
can,
Yes.
can I hop in? I'd like to share something real quickly.
Go ahead.
I love that, PJ, because I'm reminded of another quote. It says, "You don't get in life what you want, you get in life what you are." So if you want to have more, you have to become more. And a lot of times, in order to become more, you have to get around people who are more and learn from them, be mentored by them, duplicate what it is that they're doing, because destiny is it's not random. It's literally replicated. So when you look around your circles with your five closest friends, your income in every area is going to be the average of your five closest friends. And I know when I first heard that, I realized I needed some new friends. I had to get around some other people because you rise by alignment, right? You grow by association. And then we transform by imitating those people who have already are walking where it is that we want to go. So I thank you for pouring back into our youth. I thank you for helping them shift their mindsets because every lesson taught is a lesson that someone else will teach. So thank you.
I
Thank you.
appreciate you chiming in on that and adding more value to what's already turned into a masterclass. I remember Les Brown said, if you hang around five friends, that your five friends are the closest.
He
Um,
said, if you hang around
that,
five broke friends, you're bound, nine broke friends, you're bound to be the 10th.
yep, that's right. That's right. All right, I'm glad you corrected me because I was going to say five, not 10. But anyway, like I said, this was a masterclass. It was unexpected, the response, but I expected the response. I've learned. I've had plenty of deposits, both from PJ, Anne Marie, Larnez, Dr. Breakthrough, and Dr. Ferguson. And my grandpa Joe, I remember you. You're never going to be forgotten. This quote reminds me of not just wealth or about income. This quote is all about how we manage our money and how it reflects our values, our discipline, and our long term mindset. Be it rich, be it middle class, it often shapes not only, you're not often shaped by not only your circumstances, but by your habits and what we prioritize, what we invest, and what we waste, and what we save. My grandpa, always says about your financial incomes are deeply a personal choice. He says money doesn't change who we are; it amplifies our habits. And if we want different financial results, we must build a different financial behavior. Um, I love my grandfather. I mean, you'll hear it reflected in my music and so forth. In conversations, I talk about my grandfather all the time. But he often was telling me powerful stories, and the wealth he poured into me was the wealth. It starts with your behavior. Your future is shaped um, by your choices today, not tomorrow, not by someday, but today. If you want to be wealthy, my advice to you and the advice from my co-host here is to start thinking like someone who values discipline, planning, and purpose. If you want to break a financial circle, break your financial habits. Remember, money doesn't define you, but your habits reveal the truth about who you are and how you see yourself. Choose habits that honor your goals. Surround yourself with people that push you, like my guest today on the show. Discipline over impulse. Choose a future over your moment. Um, I hope that we passed on some knowledge, some nuggets, however you want to identify when knowledge is being poured into you. I want to thank all my co-hosts today. PJ, the voice of our show, Anne Marie, Larnez, Dr. Breakthrough, Dr. Ferguson. I'm going to call you because your friends Stan and Karina. Um, and I want to thank all of our listeners. Holidays are a tough time for many of us, and having these conversations sometimes to be smart. And I'm going to tell you the best Christmas I ever had in my life, because I grew up poor, is that I had my brothers and sisters and family and friends. We had nothing under the tree. We had that little aluminum tree with that little circle that great colors on it, and it was the best Christmas I have. So when you value what you don't have over what you do have, you shortchange what the possibilities can be for your future. So my grandfather, Grandpa Joseph Phillips, the late Joseph Phillips, he always said, when you get to a place that you can help someone else out, he said it was your duty to do so. He said, reach one, teach one. And with that said,
We fade to black.
But make sure you come back.
thank you, ladies and gentlemen, and to our many listeners, thank you. If you like what you heard today, go to RMK Productions on our YouTube page. You can like, follow, subscribe. If you'd like to be a guest on there, go down to the description of the show. The link to the podcast is here. All I ask, if you bring something positive. All right. So until next time, we'll talk to you later. Happy holidays and happy life.
Welcome Motivation Sunday with Kevin and friends.